Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about manifesting a specific person when you have a history with that person. Super critical topic. A lot of the questions I get are from individuals who are manifesting a specific person, not whom they've never met before, but with those whom they have a past or a history. And let's be honest, not all histories are white as snow, not all are pure. In fact, there are a lot of times injuries, hurts, a lot of good times as well. So it's not just empty and black and white, although there are a lot of cases like that as well. But I think that as it relates to a romantic relationship, this is going to be really helpful. But not only that, relationships with anyone or manifesting the change in another individual. What I find, what a lot of individuals find, is that their history continuously is repeating itself. So I don't know if you fit into this category, or if you ever have fit into this category, but it seems like you keep experiencing the same hurt, either with the same person or a different person, but now you have the same story happening over and over. There's a lot of reasons for this, and I'll get into some in this video, but also that's a lot to cover in that. But as it relates to trying to manifest the person to change, but then finding that it's difficult to do so, right? Which often, for me, I found happens mostly with family, but also with specific people. So if you're struggling with that, or if you are really trying to figure out how to change another individual, whether it's romantic or not, this is the video for you. So listen, this is a new setting on me teaching. It's something that I've been comfortable with way longer than I have just talking about these things. Normally I do write things down, but it's really up to you. I want to see what benefits you most, how I can get the message across most. So definitely please leave me a comment below on how you feel about this method of teaching. I've done a few videos so far like this. There may be more. So please, your feedback is super important to me, because really what it's all about is getting the message across on how to manifest in a very exact, broken down methodology, one that you can test yourself, that you can count on, that you can call predictable. So anyway, let's just jump right into this then. Specific person history, right? I should probably have written down manifesting a specific person with history, and this is a clock, just to be clear. Now, before you criticize my artwork, just know I spent 10 years in college practicing and honing my skills, and so I'm really sensitive about my artwork because I really think it's great, and I just lied to you. So I'm a liar when it comes to my artwork. Nothing else though. So anyway, let's go. I hope you can figure all this stuff out. Specific person, you will find a lot of, I'm trying to make this as illustrative as humanly possible, but I want you to think of your subconscious mind as a tablet, right? A tablet which is, some things are being wiped out, some things are being replaced, and some things are being written day by day by day. So whatever is written on the tablet of your mind is consistently manifested outward. But I want you to think of a person or an individual as having their own tablet. For instance, when I say tablet, I don't mean a digital tablet. I mean literally a tablet and a chisel and a hammer. So for instance, I'm sure maybe you have noticed, depending on how old you are, you act a certain way when you're in the presence of certain people. I say how old you are because I was going to make a reference to when I moved out of my family's home, right? Whether it be my mother's home, my father's home, whatever. I've realized that being away for a long time and then developing my own life, becoming my own person, when I go back in the environment of my mother's house or my father's house, or in the vicinity of my family, I actually fall back into a state, right? So it's almost as if I am being forced through some type of magnetic field to become the person that I always was when I was in the presence of my parents. Now, this can be a very good thing and a very bad thing. For me personally, depending on the circumstance that I'm in or the environment that I'm in, I can convert back into a very hostile, negative, gossipy type of individual that I wouldn't stand for. But nevertheless, falling back into those old states, or if you see when two people connect, they become a very predictable person. This is because of that tablet written in their mind. So oftentimes, for instance, my father, I can become very reactive when I'm around, or argumentative, or hostile, right? And this is because regardless of the person that I've become here, as soon as I go back into that environment, I snap back into place into that person. Now, over the years, and with manifesting, with that coming to my awareness, I've been able to kind of chisel away some of these things, rewrite some of these things. And so now I am slowly but surely becoming a different person. However, to greater and less degrees, we can change this, and to greater or less degrees, this is applicable, right? We can apply this. So for someone whom I just met, their tablet is blank. And so therefore I can write down whatever it is that I want. Now, when I say blank, there's a few boundaries or rules from which a tablet is blank, right? So for instance, when a person comes into my life, they've already come in based on my previous assumptions. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is that when a person comes in, they have fit a specific criteria that I expected. You see, this board is too small to have all this stuff on here, but your assumptions and beliefs dictate everything that you experience, right? So think of yourself, this is a person's face, there's his eyes. Think of yourself as like a whirlwind, always manifesting exactly the contents of your belief system. So if I believe people are inherently good, if I believe all my relationships with men and women are productive, if I believe that I am only in contact with intelligent people, and if I believe that anyone over the year of 84 is rude, then that will actually, my world, if I believe that, or if I claim these things, then my world will actually begin to take shape to fit that, right? And so the reason we don't really notice this is because we never really change. Until it comes to manifesting, or unless we have some real crisis or reason to change our life, we consistently experience the same generalizations over and over and over again. So there's no real reason why we ever had to target this before. But when we begin to consciously create our life, to shape our life in a lifestyle which is conducive to our dreams, or our dreams come true, then we'll begin to realize stuff like this. But the reason I brought this up is because when someone comes in, right? So say Jane is my specific person. Say Jane is a woman that I want to marry. Then when she enters into my life, although I may not have consciously or previously deliberately said I want a woman named Jane to come into my life, that woman Jane is going to fit the criteria of what I expect normally or generally. So if I believe that all women that I think are attractive are nice. Let me flip this over. Are nice. 2, smart. Right? If I just believe in general, all women I'm attracted to are smart, they're nice, they're supportive, or whatever. Say I have this list in my mind. Now say I don't even deliberately say this, but this is just what I believe or what I expect. Well, when Jane comes in here, let's make this the tablet of Jane, right? Jane, yay, made up Jane. Okay, so this is Jane's tablet. When she comes in, she's already going to have some of these traits, right? Now, right off the bat, this slate is pretty much empty. There's not a whole lot in there, depending on what my assumptions and beliefs are, right? Now, for those of you who have had tumultuous or negative, terrible things happen in past relationships, like love affairs, cheating, abuse, etc., I'll get to that a little bit later, but there is almost an expectation that the next person that walks into your life is going to have similar traits. Now sounds god-awful and terrible, but it is true, which is why we're teaching this stuff, so we can begin to change all that stuff so that you can bring in the person that you desire. Anyway, so we've got Jane. Now Jane comes into my life. Now I want to manifest Jane. And so I begin to construct a scene which would imply that I already am with Jane, right? So from that point forward, that is basically the most straightforward way to manifest a specific person. There's not a whole lot of past, which I haven't got into 100% yet. There's not a whole lot of past to mess things up. However, if my assumptions were messed up, like Jane, or like all women are lying cheaters or something, like say that was a belief inside of me because of some traumatic experiences that I've had. Well, now when Jane comes in and I meet her, no matter how she acts at first, there's a good chance she's going to be that way, which means I may have to manifest her not being that way. So anyway, this video is not directly on only manifesting a regular specific person without a history. This is on with a history, but nevertheless, the most straightforward kind of way is having a clean slate, writing down or deliberately defining the rest of these blanks, and now Jane will become that person. So say I imagine me and Jane together on the beach with a wedding ring, talking very briefly, back and forth exchange about how we're happy that it's our 1-year anniversary. Well, if I repeat that scene enough, and if nothing really else gets in the way, like no other histories, well, then that's a straightforward manifestation. There are many people who have succeeded in that regard. But what if I was with Jane for 2 years, and then there was a catastrophic breakup, and then all of a sudden I realize I want to get her back. And so then I stumble upon manifesting. And I'm like, wow, I can manifest. I can manifest a specific person. Oh my gosh, let me manifest Jane as my wife. So that's a common story. And if you're watching this, there's a good chance that you can relate to this. But there's a problem. This problem I've received a lot of emails about specifically. And so that's why it has to be addressed. Now, the history of Jane and Joe. Let's see if I can write that properly. Jane and Joe. So this is the history of Jane and Joe. Now this is, if you notice, it's no longer a clean slate. This is filled up. But nevertheless, what are we taught to do? We must imagine the end. So we define a scene which would imply that I already am the person that I want to be, which means I am married to Jane in my imagination. I've got to consciously outline that plan somewhere so that I can really make sure that I'm following that blueprint when I go to imagine. And then when I imagine, I'm going to imagine myself with Jane married. Say, for instance, we use the same scene, right? We use 1-year anniversary on the beach. Jane and I talking back and forth about how grateful we are that we are married for 1 year. So all said and done, right? All good? Maybe. Now, why do I say maybe, right? For a lot of people, that will actually work. Meaning, despite the history, imagining the end, you can still manifest that end with no questions asked. And in fact, there's a chance that despite anything, that will still work regardless. However, a lot of people are finding that it's not as simple to do that because this image that they're trying to hold in their mind, right, is not matching with the memories that keep popping up in their head. So I said something really important there. Imagining Jane as a very specific person, right, and imagining myself as a very specific person. But then suddenly, every time I come in contact with Jane, or when I'm alone, I get bad memories of things that happened with me and Jane in our previous breakup, or something that Jane said to me, or something that Jane didn't say to me, or the commitment she didn't make, or that really bad event when we finally broke up with each other. So what happens then? What's the process of manifesting in the first place? So like I said, again, I didn't go too deep into that here, but the process of manifesting is this. When we construct that imaginal scene and we imagine it and experience it in our imagination, we will then impress it on our subconscious mind, and from there, in a way that no one knows, it makes itself manifest on this world, in this 3D environment. So think of it this way. We're deliberately defining this marriage. We're defining after this marriage, right? I'm on the beach with Jane, we're married, whatever. That's a beautiful, perfect scene. I imagine it, I plant the seed. But what happens then when I start thinking of those negative memories of Jane breaking up with me, of her not telling me she loved me, or saying she didn't love me, or her cheating on me, right? What happens then? What wins? Where Or what about the insecurities that came up in me because of the relationship in the first place, right? Thinking I'm not good enough, or this isn't going to work again, or I can't manifest properly, right? So that is when we start to get into trouble, right? That's when things start to be painful. There's a verse in the Bible that I hold very true, and it says, although your sins may be like scarlet, they will be white as snow. Now, it's not talking about committing some type of heinous act or something that you're going to regret, but it's talking about the nature of your consciousness. So your sins are the impressions, the chisels on this board. Now, it doesn't have to be bad. It can also be good. Any impression left on your mind will continuously manifest outward, because your subconscious mind is like a blueprint machine, not a blueprint machine, it's a factory, and the subconscious is accepting blueprints. So all these different interactions that you've experienced, these memories, these painful things, the good things, they exist on the subconscious, but then they keep manifesting outward. And so in effect, you're imagining this positive good end, but also you're thinking of all these negative, terrible things. You're planting seed one after the next, and a lot of them are contradictory. And so really what's happening is you're imagining the marriage, as I pointed out here, but then over here you're bringing up the bad memories. You're crying here, right? So, okay, what is a memory? How does a memory work? A memory, well, first let's define what an imaginal act is. Right? An imaginal act is utilizing the creative faculty of your awareness to construct something that doesn't exist in the three-dimensional world. So, or in essence, utilizing the creative faculty of your mind to experience something within your awareness rather than the external world. So that means, in plain English, your imagination, whether it be visualizing something, using your imaginal sense of smell, taste, touch, hearing, feeling, or imaginal emotions. So an imaginal act is essentially using these faculties to construct a scene which implies whatever you want, right? So a proper imaginal scene would be you create a scene which implies you already have what you want, and you imagine it in first person point of view, and you basically emulate the experience as lifelike as possible in your imagination, what it would be like if you already were that person. So that's an imaginal act. That's a perfect imaginal act. And if you can do that properly, you will impress the subconscious mind, which will in effect manifest on the screen of space your desire. Now it does it in a way, it fills in all the blanks, all those gaps with sub-events, right? You've got this overarching imaginal act, which is marriage with Jane, and then the bridge of incidents is automatically filled in with any event based on your assumptions, which is what we said before, which is why when people get drawn in, they will already have some basic traits of what you expect. So in other words, to dumb it down really minimally, when I manifest something, the events in the middle are perfect, handcrafted, miniature scenes that are constructed of everything that you expect. Now, we don't always expect positive things. We expect bad things. We've experienced bad things. There's reason to expect bad things. And in effect, there's barely a way to make this perfect unless you have perfect control over your mind, which you can get there. But my point is that everything in the middle is going to happen based on your beliefs and expectations. So memories, as I was basically, let's go stand on this side. Memories, what is a memory? Basically what it is you're imagining, you're bringing up a memory, which means in first person point of view, something you have really truly experienced. You bring up this memory, this scene that you have experienced, and you're basically reliving it, right? So it's reliving an event that happened in the past. But what is the definition of an imaginal act? An imaginal act is imagining as if you've truly already experienced it, right? So in essence, a memory is an imaginal act. It's a perfect imaginal act. So when you're battling your memories with this, with your desires, well, you're gonna have an issue because this also is planting seeds. So when it comes to the quote that I used, although your sins be like scarlet, they will be white as snow. What I'm really talking about here is wiping out or removing the emotional attachment to your memories so that they can stop surfacing and then therefore stop manifesting. You see, the struggle often comes only with the history because we keep thinking of how bad that person hurt us. That's an issue. But in the same token, it's hard for someone, especially who doesn't know how to manifest, to remove that negative stuff, right? So the problem with memories too is that they lead to expectation. And so as I said before, with my father, and I snap back into the person that I used to be, automatically I expect these arguments or these heated debates or discussions, and then therefore expecting them re-impresses the subconscious mind, and then therefore it manifests outward. So that may be a reason right now why your specific person is not becoming the person you desire, because there's conflicting seeds being planted all the time. That's not to say that this is not planted, your imaginal scene, right? Because once you plant your imaginal scene, it must be made manifest. It must be made manifest. But if you are blocking it with thousands of intermediary imaginal acts because you're continuously bringing up the past or negatives or hurt or expectations, you're going to be in a perpetual cycle pushing back that marriage until these things get straightened out. So how do we straighten these things out? How do we straighten these things out? So I've got 3 options here that I want to talk about. How do we clear that subconscious and make it white as snow? So each of these can have their own video in and of themselves, which they will probably, like this, in this style, I mean. But essentially the first, I'm going to outline them right now just in very brief nature so that you can kind of get started to straightening this out, right? Because if you want your specific person, if you want to be married, if you want whatever it is that you want, you can do it. We've just got to know what we're dealing with so that we can take the proper action. So the first thing that we need to do, and I'm sure you've already been doing this, is use Imaginal Act. So the Imaginal Act is what I'm talking about here, and that's your end result. You must have that in mind. You must actively impress that in your subconscious mind on a regimented schedule so that you can know that you've done this properly. But what do you do for the memories that are not canceling it out, but delaying this, right? What you want to do is revise, right? So revision is a type of imaginal act where you rewrite the past, right? So I'll do a video on this separately as well, but essentially what it is in your imagination, you imagine something having gone differently. So that argument that you had, that breakup that you had, that bad thing that Jane said to me, these will continue playing unless, of course, either I forget about it or I revise it. So I would go back, just like an imaginal act. I would define a scene, right, after the desire had been fulfilled. So say Jane called me a workaholic, backwards hat wearer, and that really offended me, right? That destroyed me, my confidence, everything. Well, what I could do is I need to define the end. But where is the end? So let's see if I can find a spot here, right? Normally what we do, say this is now, right? This is now, I hope you can see this. Now, and then here's a timeline. Generally, we're imagining for the future, generally speaking. But what happened if the event took place in the past? So the event took place here. What we want to do is imagine here, right? So that's after, here's the end. This is the bad event, bad, right? What we want to do is imagine the end, new end, right? Imagine this end as if this never happened. So we would perhaps construct a scene of Jane telling me, Joseph, I love your backwards hat. It is absolutely amazing. And I love the way that you work. What that would mean is that this would not make sense. And even if she did say this to me in the past, it would be completely undid by saying this. So as long as in my imagination, I imagine her telling me with truth, sincerity, that's the word, right? And love, that she respects me, she respects my hat, and she respects the way that I work, then what will happen is a bridge of incidents will unfold, which will make this true. Now, it doesn't mean that this erases, like literally off the timeline, but anything that is related to this will literally be as if it never happened. So perhaps she will change her attitude entirely, or something will happen which will kind of erase this off the face of the earth. Just as an example of revision, one time I imagined going back and investing in Google. I ended up getting a really large bonus in work the following week. So I imagined years ago investing in Google, but then what happened as a result of that was I ended up receiving a large bonus at work, which actually, if you did the math and you saw what amount I invested, with all the interest and all that stuff, it would have equated almost the exact amount that I received for my bonus. So that's just an example of how revision works. The final thing is the subconscious mind injection tape, which I have a video about. Super, super important. And basically that is affirmations or assumptions, which in and of itself make up a subconscious mind tape. So in other words, I am, right? If you want to know how that works, you got to check out one of my first whiteboard videos, and I explained this. It was done almost like a year ago. But essentially, when we affirm something, right? So say I have negative beliefs now based on the trauma I encountered with Jane. Like now I believe that all women are evil, or that all women make me stub my toe, or all women don't like my backwards hat. Well, that's a problem, because that's going to continuously interrupt between me and Jane's marriage, because I'm constantly going to be thinking, Jane doesn't like my hat. She doesn't like the way that I work. So if I can construct statements, which, if true, would prove that I do not believe that, then that will solve it. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so say the subconscious thought now is that no one likes, or that, women don't like my backwards hat. Well, I would create a statement such as, so let's see, backwards, that's BW, backwards hats, and then, so, right, no backwards hat, right? So that's the belief. How could I rewrite that, which would make Jane actually like my backwards hat? But not only that, make me believe that Jane likes my backwards hat, right? So what I would do is I would write a statement such as, all women love my backwards hat, right? So that statement, if I command that statement to myself through either repetition or with a strong enough sense that I can really impress the subconscious mind with that, then that's going to become a new belief. Now I'm not forcing the new belief into my mind. I am impressing the subconscious mind, which means after that, I'll still probably believe for a short time that people don't like my backwards hat, but eventually I will be convinced, or events will happen which proves that everyone likes my backwards hat, or that all women like my backwards hat specifically. And so if we record this, and we record this along with similar statements which would cancel out this belief, and I listen to it either as I'm falling asleep or as I'm driving, well, then that's going to change my beliefs for whatever I have been affected by this tablet of history. Now, if we do this and we stay consistent and we wipe out these negative beliefs, an easy way to do this is to outline who she is. When I say who she is, I mean who you want her to be, or who you want him to be, right? If you do this, you can get a great idea of what you need to work on yourself with in order to change your beliefs, ideas, and memories, right? And then also, in revision, listing down the memories that keep popping up. If you can do this, you can revise those as well. If you can do this, you will literally, this is the most effective systematic way to manifest a specific person when you have a history with them. A lot of time, if you're one of the few who are, not even few, if you're one of the many who are spinning your wheels, consistently battling with your mind and the history and the future that you desire, this system truly is for you. So listen, I want you to comment below and tell me what you think about this whole whiteboard situation here, because it really means a lot to me that you've sat through, watched this, and really my goal is to systematically, or in a way that is systematic, teach how to manifest anything that you want in a way that's predictable, a way that you're not hoping, right? No more hope manifesting. So listen, If you like this, explanation, if you like the way I break this down systematically, if you want to know more, subscribe to this channel if you have not already done so. If you want to be notified for the next video like this, hit the bell icon. Also, like this video. It does something to the algorithm so that those who wouldn't normally be able to see this kind of stuff will be able to see it. And just come back. Just stay tuned. Just watch some more. Master this. If you want to master your manifestation game step by step, day by day, in a way that you can begin to trust yourself, systematically, predictably manifesting, just stay put. So thank you for watching.